Okay, let's talk about some real-life nightmares. Your paycheck suddenly shrinks, or a nasty lie about you starts spreading online. These things, they feel personal, right? But they're actually legal challenges. And the good news is, there are real solutions. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how you can protect your money, your reputation, and most importantly, your rights. So picture this. It's payday, you're excited, you go to check your bank account. And your heart just drops. The number is way, way lower than it should be. And no, it's not a mistake. A big chunk of your hard-earned money has been legally snatched before it even got to you. It's a seriously jarring feeling, and believe me, it happens a lot more often than you'd think. Or how about this one? You're just minding your own business, scrolling through social media, and bam, there's a post about you. And it's a total lie. But people are sharing it, they're commenting on it. And with every single click, your reputation is taking a hit. All of a sudden, your good name is totally on the line. You know, these situations feel incredibly personal, but they are not just a case of bad luck. They're actual legal issues, and that means there are rules and there are clear steps you can take. You don't need to be a lawyer to get a handle on this stuff. In fact, just knowing your rights, that's your single most powerful weapon. It's your first line of defense. All right, let's dive into that first scenario, the shrinking paycheck. We're going to be talking about something called wage garnishment. We'll get into what it is, and more importantly, what you can do about it. Okay, so what exactly is wage garnishment? Let's get the definition down. Basically, it's a court order. It legally forces your employer to take a slice of your paycheck and send it straight to someone you owe money to, a creditor. This could be for anything from unpaid credit cards to student loans or even tax debts. And here's the kicker. Your employer has to do it. They're legally required to comply. But here's the good news. You are not powerless here. Not at all. There's a clear 4-step game plan you can follow. First up, just contact the creditor. Seriously, just opening up that line of communication can work wonders and maybe get you on a new payment plan. Step 2, try to negotiate a settlement. If that doesn't fly, you can actually file a motion in court to challenge the whole thing. And finally, as a total last resort, there's bankruptcy. It'll stop the garnishment immediately, but, it's a huge step with some pretty big long-term consequences. Now, this is super important, so listen up. Not all of your money is up for grabs. Federal and state laws actually put a kind of protective shield around certain types of income. We're talking about things like Social Security, veterans benefits, child support. That money is generally off limits. And the reason is pretty simple, right? It's to make sure you always have enough to cover the absolute basics, no matter what debts you might have. Okay, let's switch gears. We've talked about financial harm, but what about a different kind of damage? Harm to your reputation. What do you do when someone's words could wreck your career or your place in the community? Well, that's where we get into the world of defamation. So what exactly is defamation? Think of it like a recipe with very specific ingredients. First, the statement has to be false. That's non-negotiable. Second, it has to be presented as a fact, not just someone's grumpy opinion. And third, and this is crucial, it has to cause you real, actual harm. A simple insult probably won't cut it, but a lie that gets you fired? Oh yeah, that's a different story. Now, defamation breaks down into 2 main types. If the lie is written down, think a social media post, an article, an email, that's called libel. If the lie is spoken out loud, say in a speech or just a conversation, that's slander. Both are absolutely serious. The only real difference is just how the lie is delivered. So if you want to build a defamation case, there are a few boxes you have to tick. First, you've got to prove the statement was false. Second, you have to show it was published, which in legal speak just means it was said or shown to at least one other person. And third, you have to prove you suffered real damage because of it. But check out that last point. If you're a public figure, the bar is way higher. You also have to prove actual malice, meaning the person who said it knew it was false or just didn't care if it was true or not. Okay, so we've covered 2 pretty different legal battlegrounds. Now let's step back and put together a legal toolkit for you. These are some practical, universal tools and strategies you can use to protect yourself in all kinds of situations like these. All right, so how do you actually take action? Whether you're challenging a garnishment or maybe sending a cease and desist letter for defamation, you're going to need some official-looking documents. And this is where using legal forms online can be an absolute game changer. I mean, you get access to professionally written templates, you can save a ton of money on lawyer fees, and they just make the whole process so much clearer. They're a really accessible and powerful first step for taking back control. Look, knowing what to do is half the battle, for sure, but knowing what not to do, That's the other half. And there are some really common mistakes people make. A huge one is just being sloppy with the details, like submitting incomplete forms or not documenting everything. For defamation, that means you need screenshots of everything. For garnishment, you need perfect financial records. Another big pitfall is overreacting. Remember, not every mean comment is legally actionable. And finally, you've got to know when you're in over your head. Don't be afraid to call in a professional when things get really complicated. At the end of the day, all of these legal tools, they're not just about winning some case in court. They're about reclaiming control over your own life. We've walked through how to defend your paycheck and how to protect your good name with real, actionable steps. And understanding these rights, that is your first and, frankly, your best line of defense. So the real question isn't just about what you've learned today. It's about what you're going to do with that knowledge. Knowing your rights is the first step. So what's your next one?